So I'm so excited to have Helen Kho here to talk to us about how to make sure you get in alignment and follow your passions as an entrepreneur. And I can't wait to interview you, Helen, because I've known you for a little while now. And I know that you have a really great process that helps entrepreneurs to get in alignment, especially if they've got stuck or they're really finding that they're not enjoying their work anymore. Um, so I'm looking forward to talking to you about that. But first of all, I'd just love you to say a few words about yourself and what you do so that everyone else here can get to know you.
Sure. Thank you very much, firstly, Shelley, to invite me for this conversation. My name is Helen Kho. I'm a coach helping entrepreneurs to make time and dedicate themselves for their passion projects. I'm based in the Netherlands, and I especially work with entrepreneurs who maybe lost their passion a bit, or they have this project that they really want to get to, but they are not doing it or not pursuing it or not finishing it because the daily activities of our business is calling and you get distracted and then you let it go. But then you find yourself in the same situation half a year later or maybe a year later, because it is actually something that you really want to get done because it's important for your sense of fulfillment, your sense of freedom to actually put in your time and effort to this project. So I help entrepreneurs with that process, and I really love what I do.
It's amazing. And, I know as well, like being an entrepreneur myself, that it's so easy to get stuck into the day-to-day things that need to happen in your business that your sort of passions can kind of get put a bit on one side. But actually, the spending a bit of time on your passions can really light you up and fire you up for the rest of the work you're
Yeah.
doing. So it's kind of really important to give that time to them. So how did you get into being a coach? And I'm also curious, how did you get into doing what you're doing now? Because it's quite specific.
It is. And I actually started doing something different. I have a background in business administration. And so the majority of my career, I was working on like process improvement. I was doing software implementations. So it's very different work from what I'm doing today. And while I really liked what I was doing back then, there came a time where I had the feeling that I was missing something, and I didn't know what it was. And I was just thinking like something is missing. I don't feel like I'm doing what I should be doing. But I didn't know how to find what I was really wanting to do,
Mm.
because I was a very practical person. I grew up getting the message that, going to college, to university, doing your studies and finding a good job is what I was supposed to do, and not really asking myself, what do I want to do? And then think of what do I need to do to accomplish that. So when I started that journey, I had a little bit of help from a coach in the beginning, but that was so eye-opening and life-changing. Because of that coach, I could see my blind spots, and I could see how I was telling myself that I still liked my job because it was a great environment. I had a great employer, I had great colleagues and a good salary. But that was the reason that I didn't want to leave there. But
Mm.
in fact, I was bored with the work in the last few years. And so when I found out that that was the case, I couldn't go back. I mean, I stayed at the job, but I needed to find out what it was that I was wanting to do. And eventually it brought me to coaching. I did coaching courses so I could school myself in being a coach. But it actually, it came natural to me for a large part because, listening to people's stories, it really I really want to know what's going on in someone's mind. I want to understand how it works for them, because everyone is so unique. And I've always been interested in people's journeys and the way they make decisions and why they make them. And so when I made that switch, I quit my job. I started my own company. And I started out being a health coach, but soon I saw that people were not satisfied with their careers and with the work they were doing, and I felt really called to help them with that. And so I came to work with people who wanted to make a career switch and start their own business. And then, in hindsight, I thought, like, I made the jump and I started, following my heart. But it's the first jump of many, because when you're an entrepreneur, you have the same challenges. You have, you have your revenue and your clients, but you also evolve. And so you have new interest. And if you want to keep following your heart, it's actually very active work. You have to actively kind of chase that and put in your time and effort into that. So.
Absolutely. Wow, gosh, so you've been on quite a journey in terms of where you started with the coaching and where you are now.
Yeah.
And what keeps you motivated about doing this work with clients that you do?
What really drives me is to see how people change how they feel and think about themselves. So my clients come to me because they have maybe a specific project they want to work on, or maybe they want to change the clients they want to serve. So it's something outside of themselves. But while I help them with that, what we actually do is a lot of inner work. And it doesn't just change how they do their business or how they achieve their goals. It changes a lot. It can also change the way you communicate at home and, with your kids or with your spouse. And, it influences a lot just because you work with the person. You don't work with, the business itself, but you work with the entrepreneur. And when the entrepreneur is looking at themselves differently, they act differently, and so the results are different.
Absolutely. So I know that everyone kind of listening to this are probably thinking, what do I do about trying to make sure I'm focusing more time on my passion projects? Like some people that are listening might be thinking, do you know what, I'm a little bit bored in the kind of work that I'm currently doing, and I want to make that kind of career switch, or I want to change to something that fills me up with more passion and fulfillment. Like, what advice would you give to them? What would you suggest that they do in order to start aligning their life more with their passions?
Yeah, I would definitely see if you have someone to talk to who can really listen to you and who really reflects on what you're telling them or not telling them. Because the people that have a conversation with me, they ask me, they say, well, I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know what I do want. But when I start asking questions, mostly they know what they want. It's just that they don't believe they can achieve it. So it's not the first thing that they would mention. But after maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes talk, and when you're really interested and you just ask the right questions, then people start to tell about what really lights them up. And you can just see that it's really something that they are passionate about. So when I work with my clients, we have conversations like that. And sometimes I need to remind them of that which they are passionate about in the beginning, because you need to build up that trust and that confidence that you can actually change the way you're working, or you can change your client group that you're serving. And it's something that you need to be reminded of. And so it's important to have the right people around you.
So it sounds like you're saying that actually just having someone to listen to you and to hear you and give you space
Yes.
can allow what you really want to focus your time and energy on to come to the surface.
Yes. And
That,
actually someone who is willing to put in the time, like actively with you, to follow you in that journey, because one conversation can give you the insight, but if it's not followed up by more conversations, then you will get back to your everyday activities. And because you don't have the confidence yet or the trust that you can actually make that switch in direction, you need more to build that momentum to actually go into that new route that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. So it helps to continue to have that relationship, that conversation. I also know that when we sat down when we were in the States, and I told you about some of the things that I really want to do, some of my passions. One of the things I found really helpful was that you helped me map it out. You helped me map out how I was actually going to start making time in my schedule, which is quite busy, to actually focus on these passions. And I'd just love you to say a bit more about that process for everyone listening, because it's kind of like taking it from an idea into implementing and execution. And I wonder if you could, help lay out for people who are like thinking, okay, that's great. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, but like I just never make time for it. How do I actually start to change that and shift into it? Yeah.
So what I do when I work with people is actually help them, because when you're thinking on your own, like I want to do this and I have this idea and you're trying to motivate yourself to actually do it, it's still kind of hard because you have so many things that you're thinking about. It's not just that passion project. You have, I don't know, 200 things on your to-do list and you never get it done and your day's already full with what you're doing. So how do you make time to actually, put into your passion project? So what I do with my clients is also help them to actually know what really matters to you, because not everything on your to-do list is actually really important. So if you know that these things are very important to do, then we talk about, okay, so how much time do you need to do that? And we actually go into like the specifics, because I want to find the time in their schedule where they can actually do something for the things that really matter the most, your passion project. And sometimes, a schedule can be very full. So I also challenge them to look at what are they doing with the time that they have. And sometimes it's full of things that are important for someone else, but not for you. Sometimes we talk about that. Why are you doing that? And why aren't you saying no to these projects? If you say it's only, taking away a lot of your time and energy, but you keep doing them. And so we are very strategic about how you put in your time and your energy into the things that matter most. So that could be that you get up earlier to write for half an hour, but it could also be that you have maybe one or two things that you're actually putting your time in, but you really don't want to do it anymore. And so you can maybe just stop doing them when you know that it doesn't serve you. And so, how much can it serve someone else if it's really just taking your energy and you're just doing it out of, keep doing it out of a feeling of guilt to stop doing it. So if you can find another solution that feels good to you and you can have more of your time and your energy back, and you can put it into your passion projects. And then we look at like, how do you help yourself to really get it done, to really go and do it? Not that we just, say you're going to do it every Monday, but how do we make sure that you're going to do it Monday? And so you can say like, I will have someone that I'm going to call every week who's going to help me to stay accountable to the things that I'm planning to do. So we get very practical too. I mean, the insights are, during the sessions that we have are very important. But in the end, you want things to change in your daily life. So in the everyday activities, you want to be aware, oh, I'm not going to do this like I normally do, but I'm going to do this. And so I help them to be very specific when we talk about it so that they can imagine that they're going to do it. So they can imagine that it'll be Monday morning, 6:30, that they are going to sit down and write for the book they want to write. And when you have seen that in your mind, it's easier to be aware when it's Monday. Then you know on Sunday, I'll have an alarm clock, so I'll be ready at 6:30 to actually do the work. And so things like that, really, it's like tactics, but it's really helpful to get it done. And once you get it done and you can do it again and again and again, and you do it in a short amount of time, you can build up momentum. And once you're in momentum, it's easier. It gets easier. And then it can become a new habit.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome. And like, I also can see that having the coaching alongside that is really supportive, because then you've got someone that you're accountable to as well with the coach, you know, so it gives you even more motivation to focus on making that time and taking action. Amazing. This is so helpful. And you know, I'm just kind of thinking like that if say someone is listening to this and they're thinking, okay, so I know kind of what I want to do, I know now what I need to do to make it happen, what are the kind of pitfalls, what are the things that tend to like get people off track as they get started, and how can they get back on track? I was like kind of curious about that too.
Yeah, that's a good question. A couple of things that I see with my clients, and I also recognize, is that something else, maybe it's not work, it can be in your private life, but it calls for your attention, like urgent attention. Maybe it's a wedding that you're helping to plan, for your friend, or it can be anything. Or maybe it's your kids are sick and you need to be there more. And so you take away the time and attention from this passion project, because you also have the business and it keeps, you have to keep it running, right? You have to work with your clients. And so you take the time from your passion project to put into this urgent matter. And what happens is, when the urgent matter is over, you don't get back to the passion project.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to just do the work that you have for your clients, do the marketing that you need to do, and do all the things that you've been doing for years. But that new thing that you just started, maybe it hasn't become such a habit that it's easy for you to return to. You can just forget about it. And it makes it even more challenging if, for that passion project, it feels scary because it matters. It matters for you that this is going to work. And so when it matters, the resistance can be there too. And the more important it is to you, the bigger the resistance can be. But resistance also comes in different forms. So resistance can also be that you find everything else more urgent than your passion project. Well, that, for the long term, that is the most important thing for you to attend to, but you can get distracted very easily. And so it comes in different forms. It can be that you're very busy and something calls for your urgent attention. It can be that for your passion project, you need to do something you are a bit reluctant to do because it's scary. It's outside of your comfort zone. Maybe, you almost finished your book and you want to publish it, and you want to, but you also don't want to, because what if no one reads it, or they don't like it, or you can have so many thoughts around that postponing it and procrastinating on it is relief in the short term. It's relief. And so you find something else to do. You find something else to put your attention to, and you can leave it alone until you think, I I haven't done anything with my book yet. Let's start all over. So, you have to start over, and you lose time and energy there. So you asked me what actually helps is to be prepared that it's going to happen, because it's also part of the process. It's part of the process that you have resistance in the form of procrastination, urgent matters, busyness, maybe illness. You have so many things that will throw you off. And you need to think about it before that. What are you going to do to make sure that you have someone maybe, saying to you like, oh, you need to pick it up again because now the urgent matter is over. So proceed with the thing that, you need to do because you really want to. So I think someone who can remind you of that is very helpful.
Yeah.
It can be a friend, it can be a coach, it can be, whoever wants to help you with this process.
Yeah.
So just prepare for resistance.
Yeah. Get you back on track.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's something here also about, learning how to delegate in the existing business and have staff in place so that you're not so sucked into the day-to-day of your running your business. And that frees you up more to look at the more visionary aspects. And to focus on other passions that could actually in turn really lead to the growth for the business, maybe in a new area, maybe actually an extension of the area you're already working in. But it's that innovation that can really bring that energy and that electricity to a business. If you're just kind of bored with what you're doing and doing the same thing day in, day out, then you can easily start stagnating and the business can start stagnating. But if you are bringing that focus onto your passions and you've got that energy happening, that can actually reinvigorate the day-to-day business. But it's about making that space so that you can actually focus more. So I love what you're saying, and it totally resonates in a way with with what I see about how we need to grow as business owners and leveraging our business.
It's a good addition to what I was saying, because you say that you need to delegate the business that you're running, and I see that is also a pitfall, because a pitfall not to do it. I mean, you can think, well, but I'm the only one who can do it. And if I delegate it, then, I have to check everything, and then maybe I have to do it all over again. I have to put in my time, which I don't have to explain everything. So I might as well do it myself. But that's actually the pitfall, where you put in your time and energy into the things that are already running, and you want to create this new thing. So it's a good addition.
Absolutely. Oh, it's amazing. And so I would love to know from you, what are the kind of what's the outcomes you see a lot of your clients arriving at, having spent 3 or 6 months actually working on their passion projects? Like, where does that get them? I'd love to just know how they end up. What happens? I mean, I can imagine that their lives are just singing so much more than they were before.
So when I can give an example of a client. When she came to me, she was doing a lot. She had her clients and her revenue, but she really wanted to do like special projects. She wanted to launch a new product, and she had these ideas, but didn't believe that she had the focus. She didn't believe that she had the discipline to follow through, because, she didn't have that before. And so she was wondering, is that something that you can learn? Or is it that I'm just not cut out to follow through on the things that, I really want to do, if it's something, very different than what I'm doing now? And when we started working, of course, we talk about, the goals and, what do you want to do and what do you want to achieve? And she mentioned she wanted to launch this new product. She wanted to be able to sell it to at least one first client. She wanted to have more revenue. She wanted to have more projects that she really liked, because now she was also doing the things that was bringing in the revenue but didn't bring much joy. And so when we worked together, we worked a lot on how she was seeing herself in this. So we worked on her beliefs around being able to focus and being disciplined and following through. We took like the practical steps like we were talking about. If you can get very specific about how to take action in daily life that is actually working towards that goal that you have, that is also, building the trust and the confidence that you need to make that shift. So we worked a lot on, making the internal shift. And what happened was that, of course, with, ups and downs where, some weeks she was thinking like, oh, I had a good week, I did this and this and this, and the other week was like, oh, I lost my focus again, and I lost my discipline. But after a few months, you could see that she was growing and that she was having more confidence around what she was doing. And then she was working on this special project, this new product launch, and you could see her just light up. So she found her passion for her work again. And you could see that she had the confidence to also work more with the projects that she really wanted to work on, and she said no to other projects. And so after we worked for almost a year, she launched her new product. She sold it to first clients and was so fulfilled by it, so happy. But it gave her this boost of confidence that she could do way more than she thought she could. And now it's like, okay, in this next year, I want to do this, 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 and this. And then, I always ask, is there anything holding you back right now? She's like, no, I'm going to do it. And so, everything changes. There's a lot more like fulfillment, more joy in what she's doing. And the confidence is just amazing.
Oh, it sounds so good. That's amazing. So that's almost like the kind of unexpected part of it is just the self-belief, the self-worth shifts and increases. And suddenly it's like, it's no longer just your passion project, it actually becomes your work. That's lovely. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. Wow. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you to find out more about the way you work and find out more about working with you, how can they do that? How can they get in touch with you?
It's easiest to go to my website, which is www.khoworks.nl. So that's Khoworks, Kho, which is my name, works, WORKS.nl. And they can ask for a focus session, which is a free consultation call to see what your goals are for the next year and to see if we are a right fit to work with each other.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on this interview. It's brilliant. I'm just going to see if we have any questions in the Facebook group. And just see if there's any there. Okay, so we haven't got any questions at the moment, but if people do post questions after watching this this video, then I know you're in the group, so they can have a dialogue with you through there. But thank you so much. This has been a fascinating interview and so helpful. I'm sure lots of people will be watching this, lots of coaches will be watching this and going, okay, so now that's given me a real insight into how I can move forwards with my business.
So thank you so much for having me, Shelley.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So next week we will be interviewing Mary Corbett about how to get your inbox to email 0. So make sure you turn up for that. We're going to be interviewing Mary next week. And thank you so much for listening to this interview with Helen. All right. So thanks so much, Helen, and bye for now to everyone that's been listening in.
Bye.